Yu-Gi-Oh! Is fun, except when it's not. If you are a new player, this game can often look like some kind of misbegotten chimera of bullshit, where the best decks in the game are either new meta cards that have effects more incestuous than a Deep South family reunion, or staple archetypes that, because of how popular and generally good, but not busted they are, constantly get new support to keep them relevant. And they'll all have a fucking copy of Maxi. But despite this, like with any game that's existed since the late 90s, power creep and the advent of new, gimmicky ways to cheese your opponent can sometimes lead to bizarre and fascinating circumstances where old cards that didn't have meta relevancy now suddenly do. And out of all the cards that vaguely fit this description, Gren Maju de Aiza is definitely probably the best. I don't fucking know. So what exactly is this thing? Well, Gren Maju de Aiza, or simply just Gren Maju, is a level 3 Fire Fiend monster with a single sentence effect. If you play Yu-Gi-Oh!, you probably know what it already does, but if not, and you have never seen this game, here's a clip of Moist Critical using this card.
Gren Maju, finally! A little help! I'm gonna be very upset if this doesn't pan out. End it. Thank God. This would have been a depressing loss. 8-1.
Now, you're probably wondering what the hell just happened, so let's talk about Gren Maju's effect. For every card in your banished zone, this monster gains 400 attack and defense. This effect has no limit or stipulations, and it is the only thing Gren Maju can do. This basically makes it so that, if you are able to banish the majority of your cards, you can have a boss monster that is stronger in terms of sheer numbers than something like Ra or Armor Tile. The biggest hurdle that Gren Maju has, however, is that, unlike most boss monsters, who have a high summoning cost or difficult condition to bring them out, Gren Maju can come out for free, but needs time to be set up, hence where his Goon Squad comes in. Eater of Millions is typically going to be your best friend in a Gren Maju deck. What this little freak does is that you can special summon it from your hand, but you need to banish at least 5 cards to bring it out, and it gains 100 attack and defense for every monster in both players' banished zones. Plus, once per turn, it can banish one monster that it does battle with, giving it some form of protection. Gizmek Orochi is also pretty good, since you can banish 8 cards to bring it out as a special summon, and it also has decent enough stats that beat out any 2400 attack monster. Sorry, Red Eyes Black Dragon, I guess. Glyph the Phantom Bird seems like a weird pick, but you less want the big red idiot himself, and more so want the card he can bring out. That being Golden Castle of Stromberg. This card is a field spell that makes it so that after you draw a card, you discard 10 cards from your deck during your standby phase each turn, until you can't send 10, and this card destroys itself. 10 cards banished gives Gren Maju 4k attack, and after 3 turns, this can total 12k attack and defense, not counting any cards banished from your extra deck. And in the event that you fuck up and accidentally banish all 3 copies of Gren Maju, you can just play Necroface and reshuffle all banished cards back into your deck, which will also give Necroface 100 attack and defense for each card that you have in the banished zone, giving you both a soft reset as well as a decent beat stick to buy you some time. While these cards are all good and synergize with each other pretty well, you still need some other cards in your deck, mostly because Gren Maju has no fucking protection or way to keep itself on the board, so you sort of have to bring it out last or risk it getting popped. There's plenty of ways to do this, from your various flavors of Mirror Force and Raigeki to clear out your opponent's monsters, as well as Harpies and MST to get rid of back row. There's also more common and more niche ways too. Electromagnetic Turtle, once per duel, can banish itself from the grave to immediately end the battle phase, pretty much making it a better single-use threatening roar, as well as a decent face-down wall in the early game. You can also use stuff like Forbidden Droplets and Swords of Revealing Light to prevent your monsters from effects or getting attacked, and Nibiru can be used if they special summon 5 or more monsters, pretty much letting you Raigeki their field and bring out a monster from your hand with the same attack as Blue Eyes. Though they also get a token with combined stats of all the monsters they had, so be careful, I guess. Ash Blossom is a toxic ass card, and I personally think it's cringe, but I can't lie to you and say that it's not a good hand trap that can keep your shit alive. Since you're playing a sweaty try-hard game like Yu-Gi-Oh anyway, you might as well slot in the undead cunning wife, you sick freak.
Whoa, sex, cunny, sex, whoa, plap, sex, cunny.
Wrapping up, there's a few other tips and tricks I want to go over that don't really fit in anywhere else. Pot of Extravagance and Pot of Desires can both help you draw and banish cards above Gren Maju. I do recommend playing both, but keep in mind that unless Gren Maju is in your hand, Pot of Desires can just deadass send all 3 copies to your banish zone, plus both Necrofaces, since it sends away 10 cards. For your extra deck, it doesn't really matter what you send away or even make it. If you want it to be a shitload of high-level fusions and synchros and XYZs, you can, but this runs the risk that your opponent could theoretically bring them back out and use them against you. So it is technically better to fill your deck with like old-ass useless fusions from back in the day. Because would you rather fight Dragon Master Magia or Fusionist? Because black cats are bad luck. Gold Sarcophagus is also useful. Lets you banish a card from your deck and puts it back into your hand 2 turns later, meaning you can guarantee that you do get at least 1 Gren Maju. And lastly, while it's nice to actually, use your big dumb boss monster, one of the funniest things you can do is, after banishing enough cards so that it has a shit ton of stats, set Gren Maju face down, and see your opponent attack into it and lose. Because you can't do a lot to face downs, and seeing a 3k beater hit a 12k wall is like watching a Honda Civic going 500 and evaporating because it nicked the side of an M1. Now you're probably wondering what the hell just happened, so let's talk about Gren Maju's effect. For every card in your banish zone, this monster gains 400 attack and defense. This effect has no limit or stipulations, and it is the only thing that Gren Maju can do. I'm gonna redo this take because I paused. Fuck. Yu-Gi-Oh is fun, except when it's not. If you are a new player, this game can often look like a chimera of bullshit, where the best decks in the game are either new meta cards that I'm gonna fucking stop because this is not a good take. What exactly is this thing? Well, Gren Maju de Aiza, or simply just Gren Maju, is a level 3 Fire Fiend monster with a single sentence effect. If you play Yu-Gi-Oh, you probably already know what this does, but if not, fuck, I have to redo this take. Gold Sarcophagus is also useful. It lets you banish a card from your deck and puts it back into your hand 2 turns later, meaning you can guarantee that you do in fact get at least 1 Gren Maju. And lastly, while it's nice to actually, use your big dumb boss monster, one of the funniest things you can do is, after banishing enough cards so that it has a shit ton of stats, set Gren Maju face down, and see your opponent attack into it and lose. Because you can't do a lot to face downs, and seeing a 3k beater hit a 12k wall is like watching a Honda Civic go into a... I fucking know. I'm gonna restart. Shit.
I was a kid who dreamed to become somebody.